of a colonial army. Now, the way Obote handled or used the army, President Obote used the army, also caused all this confusion of him having to take over. Now I've been reading a series of Bob Assau's story. It's very interesting. He really goes into detail to show that the civilian leaders in any country must handle the army with great care and balance those forces that are in the army, remunerate them properly, give them their due, give them what is due to them, and then eventually you find you have to bring them into the civilian life to know that they are protectors of civilians, not terrorize them. But definitely the answer is very simple. Amin did not fall from the sky. He's a product, or was a product, of colonial and post-colonial Uganda. Now, Amin's actually, successfully brought in military into the running of government. He was a military man, and when he discovered that the civilians, in quotes, were not trusted, so he had to fall back to the army, which is trusted. Now, that tendency to begin to marginalize civilians is a creeping phenomenon which is found in many African countries, and Uganda is not accepted. So these are issues you have to study very carefully as living civilians, as scholars, and ensure that there's no marginalization of civilians in the management of the affairs of our country. That's all I could say, Professor Kasozi. I hope you understand me. Thank you.
Thanks, Professor. Now, the last question you were both asked would have been my last question for this conversation. The turning point, the time you said, this is it for me. I can't take it anymore. Professor, I'll begin with you. Your decision to leave in 73.
Which one?
In 73, your decision to leave.
Oh, decision to go into exile. Oh. Now, that's a long story, but I'll be brief. I told you earlier on that we heard from grapevine that many people were being killed, disappearing. They were not appearing in our media as we do today. It was all from mouth to mouth. And that really scared us. Secondly, I had approached colleagues, ministers that is, who had wanted to resign en masse. We discussed in detail, I won't mention them. Then we discovered that this was not possible because it was not easy for all of us. We couldn't resign in here because we would be in trouble. Going out was difficult, so it was decided that we resign as and when we saw it fit. And that's exactly what happened. In my case, I had a bodyguard, I remember his name Moses, from West Nile, who later was transferred to the army barracks in Imbarara. He used to phone my secretary, and occasionally he would phone me. And his question was, "Are you safe, sir?" Then he continued phoning my secretary, the late Mrs. Adrico. "Are you safe?" Of course, we had already discussed it with my secretary that I should gradually plan to go out of the country, into exile. By that time, I just lost my wife and had 3 children to take care of. So I had to wait for an opportunity to go out on official duties. The children were booked separately. I went for a meeting of the East African Community Ministers of Education, Mombasa. And that is when I decided to leave. Went with my suitcase. The children had their suitcases. And that was all we went. We had some money from East African travelers checks. And that's all we took into exile. You had to do it quietly. You leave everything home and just go away. The future will take care of itself. Now, while there, I told my colleagues, the Minister of Education Tanzania, and Minister of Kenya. At that time, Dr. Chagula and Honorable, I've forgotten his name now, Nyaga, said, I want to resign, please. Can your government take me? Within a short time, Mwalimu Nyerere said, oh yes, Ruguma, you can come to Tanzania. And Mzee Kenyatta had said, oh yes, he can stay in Kenya. So I came back to Nairobi, sent a telex. You know, the days we had telex, you people, you are too young to know what a telex was like. Went to the post office, sent it straight to State House, and I had resigned. While there, my good colleague, Ranume Kibedi, was also there, Minister of Foreign Affairs. I told him, my brother, I have resigned. He said, wow, this is terrible. I can't go back either. So he too had to resign. So it was a very precarious. Imagine for him, he had to resign. The family was there, and his sister was the first wife of Amin. So it was difficult. He couldn't go back, and he would have said he was the one who had really connived with me. As we say, the rest is history. I went with my PS, with my personal assistant. I was staying in a hotel. I called the PS and said, Mr. Andrew Admola, my brother, I'm resigning. I said, Edward, now, how do I manage this? He said, well, you know how to do it. You're old enough. Even the personal assistant was scared, but we said, no, they won't touch you. Now, Amin read on radio that telex without editing. Or it was read without editing. And in it I said, I'm resigning because I found working in this country with you, it was unbearable. But I told him that he must know that he cannot create life, and he should not take life. And that his whole role as the president was to protect the lives of Ugandans. They read that openly. Then he added, oh, Rugumai had to go because he was miserable. He had lost his wife, which was true, of course. So he's gone. So that was it. So you can imagine we had to do it. And I said the rest is history. Eventually we landed in Zambia. And we didn't stay in Kenya. It was too close. Tanzania, also too close. We said, no, we must go as far as possible. But we refused to go overseas because I had approached Sweden. They agreed to take me. Canada agreed to take me. America to take me. But we discussed with my children, where do we go? Say, no, we must go to Africa. And so we stayed in Africa until today. So that was how we managed.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Chamber, Your decision at that time?
Now, Morris, how many seconds have I got?
I honestly hope we can do it in a couple of minutes.
Because quite frankly, it's not fair to the audience, but I'll try and be as brief as I can. In the first place, I want to thank my colleague here, Professor Ogumayo, for sending us that resignation letter. Because all of us in the cabinet, in private, we called him a hero on behalf of our silent voices. And thank you very much. I can say it in public on their behalf who are not here. Thank you for being so precise in your letter. Now, as for me, I don't know whether I should take credit for deciding to go into exile or I should be punished for having stayed. I had the opportunity to go into exile in 1972 when we attended, I was permanent secretary in the Ministry of Culture, and we were having the first FESTAC meeting in Lagos, 1972. At that time, the Chief Justice, Benedict Ochoa, had just been murdered in cold blood. And my own brother, a brother-in-law to Idi Amin, had also just been murdered when he was personal manager of Nightingale Textiles. Now, here I was, with an opportunity, going to Lagos for that FESTAC meeting, and I could easily have gone into exile then. But stupidly, and I didn't do it like Professor Ogumayo, I thought if I went, some of my brothers, including DJ Kenabeta, who was Chief Executive Officer of National Insurance Corporation, and my other brother, who was a magistrate in the judiciary, and my old mother, above all, who was about 70, I thought it would be wrong for me to leave them in the jaws or whatever of some person. So I thought I better go and come back. And that's how I came back in 1972. I could have gone into exile before you, Professor Ogumayo, and possibly taken a better credit. As it did, you know, as I said, my appointments are always accidental, so I never applied for them. I was Minister of Health and a witness to many of these killings, because they ordered me to go and look at the bodies from time to time. His wife, Charles Arube, the Archbishop, I went. But after I told my mother on February 16th that they had killed the Archbishop and 2 cabinet ministers, my old mother told me that I don't want to see you. I said, if my mother doesn't want to see me, where am I going to go? He said, I don't want to see you because they are going to kill you. I said, I understand. She was staying with me at Chadondo Road. I thought hard about the situation of murdering an archbishop, murdering ministers. Then who am I? A small fly. Small fly. I immediately told my brother, that you better make arrangements to go, because when I go out, I'm not coming back to this country, because my mother has sacrificed for me, even if they want to kill her. My brother went to Lagos for the insurance conference, National Insurance Conference, and from there went to London. I also took the advantage because I was chairman of African Health Ministers, then lobbying for Dr. Lambo to become chairman, or to become Director General of World Health Organization in Geneva. I was lobbying. I had the opportunity to go to Geneva before the conference and to stay there, where I was elected Vice President of the World Health Assembly in 1977. While busy working for my country, Idi Amin was busy arresting my ministers and my 5-year-old children at Jinja, and then telephoning me in Geneva to ask how I was, and how he had heard some rumors that I wasn't come back. Apparently, one of my bodyguards was communicating. And I told him that, can I come back? Let me abandon this office, which has been given to Africa. Oh, he said, no. I mean, said, no, stay there. These people are stupid who are giving me these rumors, when he had actually implemented the execution and arrest of my family. Some kind people kept me informed until he immediately released them, got them out of the country, under various imitations. When I got the message in Geneva, I also did what Professor Rugumayo had done earlier, took the first flight from there to London. And in Paris, I met one of his bodyguards who wondered why I was alone there. Then I knew Amin would know within the next minute. He told him that Chamber is in Paris. What is he doing here without anybody? That was when I continued to London and announced my defection from Idi Amin's government. But the fact was that you could not resign from Idi Amin's government and think you can walk on the streets of Kampala as we are enjoying now. That was unthinkable. Many of us were praying hard to be dismissed so that you go underground. But until he did so, it was unthinkable that you could be fired, you could write a letter like he did and say, Mr. President, I think I'm not up to the task, and stay here. That affected many Ugandans. And I can tell you, Maurice, that the most humiliating thing you can ever go through is to go and live in exile. Because you are thought to be a pest, a parasite on the hardworking people where you've got refuge. So I would, I'm sure many millions of Ugandans would feel they wish to be elsewhere. But I cannot advise you that please take the next taxi or plane out of this country, because living in exile can be very difficult, even if you've got money.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Edward Rugumayo and Honorable Henry Chamber, we want to thank you so much, both of you, for joining us this morning for this panel discussion. This is just the first of 4 panel discussions. The next panel discussion will be on Monday, and then we have another on Tuesday and Wednesday. The details are available on the posters. We'll have a panel discussion with the family members. We have a panel discussion of journalists who covered the Amin era period, and much more. So do join us both on UBC and of course here at the Uganda Museum to be part of this process. I also want in a very special way to thank the following people, and I really want to request that we clap for them. The University of Michigan and the University of Western Australia that put together that put together this, because they came to us, UBC, especially Richard and Derek, who are here, and they said, we want to look at your negatives, and then they found a gold mine. And this is just the beginning, I'm told. That's the conversation we have. So this is just 200 negatives of, listen to this, of 70,000. Is that right? So this is just 200 of what they found of the 70,000 negatives in the possession of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. Now that's just negatives. There is video and there is audio. Now what's more difficult to integrate into digital right now is the old video, and it's easier with the audio. So today you'll see the stills, which is the photographs that are available. There's clips of video that will be shown in another room when you get the opportunity this afternoon. But there is also audio that will be played under that video that you'll see. But those are all captured differently. It is quite expensive to do, and I won't give you the numbers. And I'm hoping Richard and Derek do share in the afternoon how much it's cost them to do this. But UBC is in possession of these negatives now and is the copyright owner of all this content. So this is content of the government of Uganda, and we want to appreciate that. However, you will also notice when you go to the exhibition that there is a period, and Derek and Richard are very keen to explain that. There is a period where there is no footage, 77 to 79. You'll find very little information. And it was deliberate. Not deliberate on their part, but deliberate, I guess, on the people that kept the archive at that time. And I'm sure Henry would have given us more information, but I didn't want to go there. And the reason I had wanted initially Agriawari to say something is that I've heard him say in the past that for every government that took over office, they were quick to clean their image by deleting certain images of certain periods of time as they were leaving, just before they left. So I need you to be prepared that you may not see some of the images you're thinking about, but the images you will see, and I want you to really stay and see this, are images of art. So there's a lot of images of the president at that time with different art groups and drama groups. There's image of sport. There's images of him being received at the different regions, and a lot more I don't want to give out here, including some of the things we've spoken about. Of course, a few people have already seen this, which is the cabinet ministers and the few people like Agriawari. But I would really want to interest you to see this and stay behind and tell a friend. We're using the hashtag Idi Amin Archive, and we want to appreciate the Ministry of Tourism. I see the PS here. We want to thank you so much for being part of this. And finally, our hosts, Uganda Museums. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so this exhibition is on until the end of November 2019. Please do not ask us when the next exhibition will be, but we will be back here at a given time with another set of unseen archive from the UBC. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon.